made this video at the park, and there are birds and kids playing in the background, just in case you hear wild noises occasionally. This was a very hard video for me to make on a lot of levels. I appreciate everyone for watching. So this is going to be a really hard video for me. It's something that I've kind of been putting off and been struggling with a lot. But I think I can go ahead and do it. So I usually try to help my community out and help the world out as much as possible. I've always had an empathist heart, and I always empathize with people in need or going through stuff. So I always try to help people as much as possible, and I don't ever put it out there or try and brag or do anything about it. I also don't pay taxes, and it doesn't really correlate. I don't do it because I don't pay taxes. I do it because I feel that it's right as far as helping people. But I've decided, since I've been so outspoken about not paying taxes and just doing what we can locally, instead of paying taxes to a federal government, do what you can right here where you live and raise your communities up, whether it be boots on the ground or whether it be monetarily. We can do everything we can to make our communities great. And I live a very minimalistic life, so mine is more of a boots on the ground type of mentality, and just doing what I can with my own two hands to try and help out the local community, or even the world for that matter. So what I've decided to do is to try and help encourage everybody else that there's just a different way of thinking and a different way of doing things, and that we can just help out with our own two hands and help out on our own free will and our own free choice, instead of saying I want the government to do it. Because when we say I want the government to do it, a bunch of people put their dirty little fingers on it and embezzle the money at every given chance. And when I say embezzle, I mean waste. There's just so much government waste through all of it, and it could be minimalized if we just tightened the belt and did everything locally and with our own two hands. So what I've decided to do is actually start to try and somewhat keep track, and for every 5 days I work, I want to donate my time to the world. And like I said, I live minimalistic, so I can't really donate money, but I can donate my time. I have not been making money for a while. I've been putting a lot of time invested in this, so I haven't really made that much money. So I don't have too much to pay back since I started this idea and stuff. The people that I reached out to first on the first job I did, I had the idea to, like I said, 1 out of 5 days donate my time, and on any big jobs I was going to donate my time completely to the organization they wanted. And I asked them, and they wanted to go with the Ronald McDonald house, which is very near and dear to my heart. I'm doing all of this because I had a little boy that passed away. I was working on the road laying tile, and I had a bunch of crews that were working for me, and I had a little boy. His name was Dylan Paul, and he was born very premature. He was 1 pound even when he was born, and he was a little fighter. He tried, and I was staying up here with him at the Ronald McDonald house and in the hospital and living there. And the Ronald McDonald house is such an amazing organization. They helped me out in my worst time of need. And there's a lot to unpack and all of that, but it was bad. And even though I was working hard, I didn't have money, and I was in a really tight spot, and we were just all but lost. And they provided a place for us when there seemed like no other hope, and it was pretty much the hardest time of my life. That was so hard. And while I was there in the hospital and with everything, my crews started to falter, so I had to go on the road and run the crews. I didn't have the manpower with the knowledge to be able to run what was going on, and these were, so big of contracts. There was millions of dollars on the line between my job and everybody else's job, depending on what I was doing. I was laying tile, and they'd have to move counters, and just there was so much involved to everything they did, and if it wasn't done right, it was a very major deal. And I had all my employees that their lives depended upon me being able to get a paycheck, and they already had months of work, or a lot of weeks for sure of work into these jobs, and if we didn't do them right, we wouldn't get paid. So I had to go down and go to Texas and leave my son, and we were working and getting caught up, and I got the phone call that my little boy had passed away. He was about 6 weeks old, and the tube, he was on a tube, he was doing well, and I think that the nurse was rolling him over and moving him, and accidentally bumped out the tube, his breathing tube, and when that happened, she panicked and went to give him CPR or whatever, and accidentally blew out his lung. So he unfortunately passed away. But I told my boss at the time that I had to go home, and there was a lot riding on the store, like I said, so they told me I couldn't. At that point, they owed me $80,000. I had 3 crews in 3 different states going on. I was in Brownsville, Texas, or no, I was in Louisiana. No, I think I was in Brownsville, but it was Brownsville, Texas. I was a long ways away. And they said that I couldn't drive the truck. It was a company truck, and they had company trucks for me. And the way my contract worked is I subcontracted through them. I provided the labor and the manpower and ran the crews, and they provided the contract and the truck and the equipment. And that was our deal, and we had an arrangement, and I subcontracted through them, and they owed me $80,000. And they had been stringing us along, all of us. I had about 15, 20 guys working for me at the time that none of us had money at all. We were all broke. And I asked them to please loan me money to get home to see my child, and they said no. So I asked them if I could take the truck and leave, and they said no. So I told them that they owe me money and that I was doing all this work for them and that I'm leaving my crew here and I'm going home, and they can do whatever they think they have to do. And I took that truck and I left without $1 in my pocket. And we worked at night, and so I called the everybody I could, but there was no way to get money because I didn't find out until nighttime when I woke up. And I had to leave, and I ended up calling churches and had even a pastor come and give me money in the middle of the night at 3 a.m. I called a random church and told him my story, and at first he didn't believe me, but he came and did it anyway. And then the next day I got money sent to me, and I drove all the way home. And when I got to Columbia, I was able to hold my little boy in my arms, and I was able to I promised him I would do all I could to try and help make the world a better place. So that's where this all comes in so heavy, is because all of the reason I'm doing this is because of that promise I made to my son. And I saw how bad the world was then, and I saw that his brother was just an innocent kid and needed something done to fix his future. And it scared the hell out of me, knowing that the world was in such bad shape. So I just started to look at everything from a different point of view. And I started to try and fix stuff. And I started to come up with solutions and ideas. And that's all the root of everything I'm trying to do. It's not for money. It's not for notoriety. It's simply to try and help the world. Which leads me full circle to everything I've been doing now, and why this caught me so off guard. Because I am putting myself out there right now and running for sheriff and doing all this silly stuff that I know I obviously ain't going to win, and just trying to share ideas to help the world. And it came to this tax thing, and it came to the 1 of 5 days, and that was the first thing. The first thing that somebody said to me was, let's do Ronald McDonald House. So that's why I'm struggling so much with this. And that's why it's been so hard for me. But it comes full circle to me trying to tell my story of trying to show people that you can donate time and put boots on the ground. And I didn't have anything to donate them other than my time. So I called them up, and once again, I'm wild, and I told him my story. I don't sugarcoat anything. And obviously he kind of wanted me to keep me a little bit at bay. He doesn't want me to really publicize or anything, but he was okay with me coming and donating my time. And I was able to, I'm a big guy, I'm 6'3", 300 pounds. I move stuff, heavy stuff for a living. And I was able to help out, move some headboards and do some other manual labor there. I just did what I could. I wish I could have done a lot more, but they didn't have too much for me. They were just moving into a new building. And I'll include some pictures and stuff of the building and everything that's going on. And they were just a real pleasure to work with. And it's a great organization. And at the end of it all, I don't believe in taxes, and I believe that taxation is theft. So I believe that a business or an individual or a company or anyone should be able to freely decide what they want to do with their taxes. And that's pretty much the epitome of what I'm saying, is that businesses could put their tax rates on their front door and say, look, we charge a sales tax and this is what it goes to. And McDonald's could do the same thing and just say, look, we charge a 1% sales tax on all of our products and we give it to the Ronald McDonald House. And I would be okay with that. That would encourage me to go shop more at McDonald's, even though I don't quite agree with the food and stuff, but I still eat there. I won't lie. But it would encourage more patronage, and every business could decide to voluntarily do taxes that way. Now, we all know that corporations use charities as a tax write-off, but this is the best charity there is. I mean, it's so amazing, and it's actually hands-on something that you can see, and that has helped a lot of people that I know. And it's an amazing charity. And like I said, I think the corporations should be able to do whatever they want with their money. And at the end of it all, it's their free will. In a truly free society where freedom truly reigns, we would have the voluntary decision on what to do with our taxes and whether to voluntarily contribute or not. And as hard as it is, that's what freedom really looks like. And once again, from there, businesses should be allowed to do the same. And what the solution to all this would be to still make it work and coexist is that we could voluntarily decide what taxes we want to contribute to the government and what ones we don't. And I know a lot of people would choose to keep their money, but we could instead invest it locally into our local communities and raise our local communities up. Or we could invest it into whatever we want. And Democrats could fund their Democrat stuff that they like, and Republicans could fund their Republican stuff they like, and we wouldn't be forced to fund stuff and pay for stuff we don't agree with. And at the end of it all, it would be based on freedom. And taking that same mindset and that same concept and allowing businesses to do the same. And if a business wants to charge 0% sales tax and give you the cheapest product possible, that's what they put on their door. They advertise and let you, the consumer, decide to shop with them or not. And if a business wants to charge 100% sales tax and give it all to schools or to hospitals or to Ronald McDonald House or whatever they want to do at whatever percent rate, I mean, whether it be 1%, 0.5%, 80%, whatever they want, it should be their free will to do that. And then us as consumers and customers be able to decide, you know what, I want something cheap today and I want to go get the 0% sales tax so I can get it as cheap as possible. Or I feel like I want to try and help the community or help this whatever organization and go and shop with this particular business. And businesses could be run off that aspect as well. And right now we try to do like a cancel culture thing to where we just try and force businesses to shut down. Well, let's do the reverse and just prop them up the same way. And just let everybody be free to decide what business they want and let freedom reign. And let every business have the freedom to run their business how they choose. I mean, that's how freedom works. And that's the answer to everything that I'm doing, because I think that a lot of the conflict in this world comes from people being forced to do things they don't want to do. And we all just want the freedom to do our own thing and be left alone. And as long as we don't hurt nobody, that should be the answer. No victim, no crime policy. But it comes all back to that. It seems like at the end of it all, if we have freedom it will create less conflict. So I think that freedom will help create peace in this world. And that's what I did. I looked at everything as a whole, and that's what led me to this conclusion. It's just looking at the world as a whole and just searching through everything and realizing that freedom is the answer. So I wrote a book and I dedicated it to my son, and it was just a book of ideas on solutions on how to fix the many problems in the world. And I just took everything I thought and everything that's pushed on me, and I just took it all out of the equation, and I just looked for the most logical solution to all the problems that we face. And I tried to take all emotions and everything out of it and just look for the best ideas possible. I'm a chess player, and I was just trying to achieve the best possible outcome. And I wrote a book. I call it a Handbook to Freedom and World Peace in honor of my son. And it was a little bit long, so I just narrowed it down to a Handbook to Freedom. And I give it away for free. It led me to also not be a hypocrite, because I talk a lot about politics, and in order to not be a hypocrite, I had to put myself out there and run. So I ran for sheriff, and I'm trying to do right in for president. I don't think I'm going to be able to make it, but I'm just trying to do what I can with what I got, and which obviously there's no chance of me winning on any way, but I'm just doing it to try and show that there's a different way of doing things, and it doesn't have to do with me. It has to do with everyone creating a better way of life on this planet and trying to get along peacefully and love each other and just make the best world possible for our kids. We're just borrowing this planet. It's not ours, and we got to make sure we give them the best future we can. And doing that is going to be some soul searching and looking at the problems that we're going through now and realizing that we are contributing to it and causing it. And we all have to try and just look inside and do what we can to create peace in this world and create a better future for our kids, whether it be cleaning the planet up, or whether it be helping create peace politically, or whether it be even doing what you can locally in your community. Ultimately, I feel that self-sufficiency is the answer, and that's the only way we can truly be free, is if we can feed ourselves and provide energy for ourselves. And whether it's running cars on hydrogen, or I got an idea for a gravity invention machine that produces energy, but definitely eating and having control of our food locally will be the answer the most. Which also brings up the point that if we grow our own food, we can ensure it's healthy and it's much better for us, and it won't have all the other byproducts and problems it has. So this all leads me back to my son and why I'm doing all of this. So I still have to be open and honest with myself and with everything I've learned and all the research I've done. And my son was born very premature at 1 pound even. All my children were. I had a 3 pound 11 ounce, and I had a 1 pound 5 ounce. And the other two fortunately made it, but my middle son, Dylan Paul, unfortunately did not. And he led me to start researching premature kids and why. What I came to find out is that it's a common thing for preeclampsia, which is a high blood pressure problem with pregnancy when women become pregnant. And I started kind of looking into that, and it came back to people being overweight and the blood pressure being a problem. And so it once again led me down the wormhole of why is society getting overweight? Because if you look around, you see it's a problem, and which is in turn a problem with birth. And I say this as an overweight individual with high blood pressure. I am not a hypocrite, so I can look inside myself and see it's something that I need to take care of, and it's definitely something that I'm getting ready to focus very hard on. But looking at everything from a whole, I came to the realization that we as a country are massively overweight, and that this problem is creating massive side effects, and the side effects is preeclampsia and babies being premature. And so it led me even further down the wormhole, and why are people so overweight? And it's because of the processed food that we're eating. It's over processed and over microwaved and over There's pesticides, and I mean, that's just what's making us sick on so many levels, is all the terrible food that we're eating and living off of. And I am guilty of it just as much as anybody else. I love fast food, and I love processed food. It's delicious, and I think that that's what our brain's designed to do. Nature has made it to where they're like, you love sugar and you love the taste of that stuff because we always have to fight for it to survive, and that's what gives us the most boost to stuff we need. But we have it now at an overabundance and over accessibility, and beyond that, what we're doing is we're starving our bodies. When we overprocess this food, we're not getting the full nutrients of what we need to be receiving. When we overprocess all of our food and take all the nutrients out of it, we're no longer receiving the nutrients that we need. So we'll eat and we'll eat and we'll get all the bad stuff, but we're not getting the good stuff. So we'll still be hungry. And it works good for somebody who is selling a product, but it's terrible for our bodies because we constantly feel hungry because we're not getting the nutrients we need. So we just continue to eat and eat and eat, craving these nutrients that we're not getting. And it then makes us overweight. So in order to fix this problem, we have to take all the trash out of the food. We have to stop over processing it. We have to get it as natural as we can get. We have to take all the pesticides out of it. We have to take all the junk that we're doing it. We have to stop microwaving it. Even microwaving it takes nutrients out of the food. So every time we process it or mess with it, it takes away from its nutritional value. So keep it natural and as fresh as we can possibly get it. And we should be free to decide to eat cheap food that is not good for us, or we should be able to decide to spend a little bit more and eat better for us. And we need to decide that that's the right route. We need to recognize that. And eating terribly every once in a while isn't the worst thing. I mean, I do it now, and I really need to do it a lot less, and I want to start focusing on that. But even we locally can stand up and create our own businesses from food that we create locally and generate locally from farm to table. And I think that's the greatest idea we could do. And even in fast food restaurants, they could start divisions and side divisions and start reaching out to local communities and offering a healthy option and offering a healthy local option that we create locally. And it's going to be way more expensive, but they could have it on the same menu. And I think that that would be a very beneficial solution for everyone. And instead of over processing it, which they have to do, logically they have to do it if they're going to ship it and create it at such a cheap price. So there's no way they can do the economical option if they have farm to table and do all that. We have to realize that's outrageously expensive in order to do that because it's a lot of work. But if we don't, we're doing damage to our bodies. So we're forced to choose between our pocketbook and our bodies, which is the hardest choice right now. But once again, we can grow food in our backyards and maybe even help contribute that way. And instead of growing lawns, we can grow food and all contribute locally. So it's just a matter of changing our mindset a little bit. If we all sit down together and work for solutions and just work for ideas to the problems that we face, we could definitely figure this out. And there's no reason why corporations couldn't work with communities. And there's no reason why we couldn't just figure out a way to start eating healthy and take all the over-processing out of the equation. At the very least, we need to just start trying to create healthy options wherever we can. Leave the freedom for a company to have an economic, efficient product and have it be not very healthy, but at the same time try and create more healthy options. And just let freedom reside at the end of everything. I think that should always be the answer. Freedom as a consumer, freedom as a business, and freedom all around, and unless somebody has been harmed. And if somebody harms themselves, that's their own free will and their own free choice, as much as it hurts at the end of it. But what this is all about is basically coming to the realization that we're harming ourselves and the depth of what we're doing. It's beyond just our personal bodies. It's even what we're doing to the next generation, and that it's causing problems with birth rates. And that is what I found myself in the research I did right out of the gate. And that's why this is also so hard for me, because Ronald McDonald House helped so much, but they're part of the fast food that we lived on when, we were having kids. And I thought, living on fast food and trying to make her life easier where she didn't have to cook as much was a good thing. And I was just trying to help, and in hindsight, it did not do much. And I'm not necessarily blaming completely fast food or any one restaurant or anything in particular at all. I'm just saying that as a whole, what we're doing is not good for our bodies, and there's side effects to what's happening, and that we just need to do all we can to try and create more healthy options and live a healthier lifestyle. That's why this video has been so hard for me, and why I have basically come to a halt with a lot of the stuff I did, because I had to just go through myself and a bunch of soul searching and everything in order to do this. And at the end of it all I can be is 100% honest. And it's just so crazy that everything came full circle back around, right back. And so I've just tried to be 100% honest. And the person that I did the job for asked me to do something that I said I would. And I openly said I would donate my time 1 of 5 days to any charity that they said. And since then, it's been harder to find charities and stuff to go do work for. So I'm just going to kind of take it in my own. But at the time, that's what I was saying. That's what I did. And that's what I agreed to. And that was the first one that came up. So here we are. And I can't sugarcoat everything. I can just only be as honest and open as I can through it all. And I greatly appreciate everything the Ronald McDonald House has done for me. That place is amazing, and I think it's truly a great organization. And beyond that, I just hope that we can eat healthy in this world and maybe work together to create solutions to ways we can figure this out and ways we can do this. And I'm not saying my ideas are perfect. I am just throwing out solutions the best I can and trying to open up the conversation with all of us. I would love to have people from local communities and every side of the table, corporations, health food organizations, everything, just everything, all at the same table and sitting together to work for solutions. And that's what I'm trying to open up. And with my son passing away, I wrote a book. I call it A Handbook to Freedom. And that's what I do, is I just try and open up the conversation for solutions. And I'll be including my book for free at the end of this video. I will also be including my political resume for me running as a politician. I think that being honest and putting everything open is what we need. And from there, one final solution I have is just at the Ronald McDonald House. They seem to be doing okay financially. And they seem to be just doing all right. They were a real pleasure to work with. It was a great thing. They really have things figured out efficiently there. But they didn't have a playground. And I always am trying to figure out solutions for everything. And I know they had the works for a playground, but even having a playground there, when we were there, that was the most important thing to me, was taking my older son out and trying to have him not focus on what was going on. And I had to stay there with all 3 of my sons. I had to stay there. All 3 of my sons spent a lot of time in the hospital. So with my youngest son that was 3 pounds 11, I stayed there a lot. With my son that passed away, I stayed there. And then with my youngest, we stayed in the one in Columbia and St. Louis, both the Ronald McDonald houses, and they were great. The way they have it set up is just so awesome. But when we could go and do something and take our minds off of it and go play, that is what made life the best. Because in that moment, when you're doing something as a family or doing something, it takes your mind off the intense amount of stress. Because usually when somebody's at the Ronald McDonald House, it's their family is in the hospital. And that's the way that the Ronald McDonald House works, is their family's in the hospital and they have nowhere else to go. And it's a really hard time. And so to help empathize with those that are going through that, I thought real hard. And I always try to come away with a solution on everything. And my idea is to start getting gift cards and giving gift cards to local businesses that are family oriented. And even if it's just a couple that have a kid in the hospital, a night out where they can go to a steakhouse or somewhere even to eat and have a nice sit down dinner and maybe just take a breath for a second is a very, very big deal to them. That's beyond what you would even understand until you're in that moment. And being able to have kids, and it's so stressful with children, and I've seen people with multiple children. I only had one child when I was going through it. I could imagine what it would be like with 4 or 5. It would be a whole new level, and having to take care of all of them. But what you could do is reach out to play places that have like Chuck E. Cheese or places like that, and asking them to maybe open a way to have the community contribute for passes for them for a day, where people can just go get a gift card and have a gift card option. And I kind of called the guy that runs the Ronald McDonald house, and I ran it by him. And it was after I had already went and donated my time, but I did run the idea by him and threw it his direction, and hopefully he's able to do something with it. And I really appreciate him, and him even letting me show up and donate my time at all. I can't tell him how much I appreciate that and giving me the opportunity. And like I said, I'm honest with everything I've said, so he didn't really want to go too in depth with me, and he didn't want me to record too much, but he said I could take pictures of the outside and that I could come help. And I understand his perspective fully. I get it. It's so much to take, but at the same time, I have ideas that I'm trying to help, and so all I'm trying to do is try and help out. I think he saw that, so he let me come and help out, and he's a really good guy. Anyways, I reached out to him and I gave him this idea and said maybe people can donate gift cards, and we can have somebody that just gives gift cards out to the people, or even reach out to local businesses. And I was something that I was going to do. I just don't have time to do all these ideas I have. I can just throw them out in the world and hope they catch and hope they gain traction and that other people will take them. But go to local businesses and ask them to just donate their business and maybe try and help out people that are staying in the Ronald McDonald house, and have a call verification system to where they can pick up and call the Ronald McDonald house and say, hey, do you have these people? Or maybe creating some kind of pass or some way that the system can't be cheated, and where anybody can't just say, oh, I'm staying at the Ronald McDonald house, but make it to where people have an option. We can adapt and overcome and figure out anything. And there are many different ways in which we could make this work. We just got to come together and work for solutions and figure out the best ideas possible. Businesses could start a pay it forward board and let customers voluntarily choose to contribute and donate gift cards on the wall, where people at the Ronald McDonald house and people struggling and need something to distract themselves from the terrible situation they're in would be able to go there and pull down one of those gift cards and use it with their family. And maybe businesses can match it, or there's just endless ways that it could be worked out to where we could freely and voluntarily decide how we wanted to do it and go from there. And I think that even businesses could donate cards, or we could donate gift cards directly to the Ronald McDonald house. We just might need to set up a program to be able to do such. And that was my solution that I wanted to help contribute, and maybe just help everyone going through problems and struggles. And I think it would help families that are staying at the Ronald McDonald house. So ultimately, that was my takeaway and what I was trying to contribute. I wasn't able to contribute as much with my hands. I did drive all the way to Columbia. It was about a 4-hour drive back and forth, 2 each way. And I was only able to work a couple hours. I just don't feel that I put in as much as I wanted to, so I tried to create an idea that would be able to go further. But I really, really struggled with this one, because I had to address everything, the good and the bad, and I had to be really honest with myself on so many different levels. And so honest in this video. This is one of the hardest videos I've had to do as far as conflicts within myself, because I'm super grateful for the Ronald McDonald house, but at the same time, the food system is broken and we need to try and fix it. And it's just a conflict I've had within myself. So, and a conflict I've had with everything, and it's just something I had to work with, and I think I did the best I could to just openly address the situation from all sides and just look for solutions and for all the problems. It's a really hard thing to just look at the problems in this world and see all the problems from all aspects, because no side seems perfect. It seems like there's problems and positives on all sides. So it's just figuring out how to work through that and work through it all. And I feel I did the best I could to try and address it. And I'm sorry if I stepped on any toes or let anybody down. And I went through the same thing with the elections when I had to be honest with everything going on. It's just a conflict I go through within myself of being honest and telling the whole story. So I don't sugarcoat it. I don't hold nothing back. Even when it makes me look bad, I don't hold back, and I let loose on myself. Even the outcome of all this was me just trying to look for solutions, and I wrote a book. I call it A Handbook to Freedom. I'll include a free copy at the end of this video, and my political resume. I'm completely 100% honest, and you're more than welcome to read that. I'll include it as well. And anybody out there from any side, anytime, I would love to sit down and do an interview and work for solutions. It doesn't matter what kind of solutions, from what perspective it is. And the more people with different perspectives we can get to sit down, the better. And I think that we just need to get enemies, even just sit down on every level and just work together for peace in this world and for solutions. I appreciate everybody keeping along. And yeah, if anybody wants to sit down and have an interview, please reach out to me. I appreciate everybody. Thank you, guys. My political resume and my free book, A Handbook to Freedom, will be available in the description section of this video.